Hello everybody, it's the YouTube Nobody, Just Jargon here, and I just want to preface things out by saying that we have a very serious situation going on at the moment. As you know, there's been some drama between Turkey Tom and Digibro. Since 90% of you are fans of Mumkey, you might know Digibro, and if you've ever dipped into the commentary community for more than 10 minutes, you've seen Tom. Despite his, oddly disproportionate small subscriber count. But if you haven't heard of either of them, Digi is a popular anime reviewer with quite an extensive history on the internet, and Tom is a fairly well-respected commentary turkey. And if you check Digi's video, you'd know that I'm not that big of a fan. If you want a detailed recapping of past events that have led to this drama, it's fairly simple. In basic terms, Tom made a video on Digi, and Digi responded. Likely due to the fact that the video had the word pedophile plastered on the thumbnail, which was now replaced by one with the word pedophile removed. But while these two were bickering back and forth together in videos, something much more sinister was going on in the background that neither of them were fully aware of. Something that not only proves Tom's points 100% correct, but has allowed a much darker Digibro scandal to come to light. But more on that later. In his video, Tom details various issues he has with Digibro and his content, and to his credit, the original thumbnail isn't misleading in the slightest because the accusations of pedophilia were at the forefront of his complaints.
As it turns out, Digi here is a self-admitted and proud lover of children, or as he calls it, a lolicon. Essentially what this means is that he is sexually attracted to lollies, or little anime girls, something which he seems to proudly state considering that he posts about it so often on his Twitter, and actively defends pedophilia as if it is okay and should be accepted by society.
In the video, Tom brings up points about issues with Digibro's content, the drama surrounding his relationship with Mumkey, some of his questionable behavior, and his sexual desires. This is how the pedophilia aspect comes in. He claims not be attracted to real-life kids, so one would argue by that definition he isn't a pedophile, but it's a difficult situation to nail down simply because it can be seen from both sides. He specifically likes young anime girls rather than legal age ones, so technically he's a pedophile in terms of anime, but not reality if one is to believe that the attraction didn't carry over to real kids. Although I think the anime aspect tends to add another layer onto things when it comes to attraction. In my opinion, anime is able to sexualize many things that wouldn't otherwise be sexual. And typically, the general anime art style doesn't always differentiate features between adults and kids. The only changes tend to be the character's body shape and height. So in other words, make them taller and give them big boobs and there's almost no difference. So if you unknowingly jerked it to a lowly, it's understandable because they might look similar. But specifically being attracted to lowlies because of their age does constitute pedophilia, at least in terms of anime. And even though I personally believe that the attraction in kids in anime doesn't inherently mean anything for real life, Digi doesn't seem to understand that he's in the minority of people who think like this. Most in the general public who aren't familiar with anime would consider lowlies to be a safe and legal substitute for real child porn. And a lot of times, those who are familiar with anime can still tend to share this sentiment. But that's Digi's issue. Since he's so convinced that everyone thinks the same way as he does, he's completely open to revealing things that, to the majority of people, would equate to him being a pedophile. And since there's no way for him to definitively prove that he isn't one, there's no real evidence that he could present to change their minds. But I digress. Regardless of what one thinks in this issue, I have evidence that 100% confirms Digibro's status as a pedophile and a threat to all society. And that evidence lies in the statements made by a witness who spent an extended period of time in Digi's house.
The post details a first-hand account of someone who claims to have lived with Digibro.
The importance of these statements is stressed by the fact that Digi spent the majority of his response video attempting to explain the situation, which in total accounts for over half of his 20-minute video directed specifically at Tom. Almost as if he's trying to hide something that Tom grew so close to discovering. But even Sherlock Holmes needed Watson. Tom can't solve things himself, which is why I'm going to guide you through the video and show you various points that prove, once and for all, that Digi is indeed a pedophile. Let's begin. So Digi's response video is titled Turkey Tom Gets Roasted, and it was put up less than 24 hours after Tom's video, which, considering the size of Digi's channel, is a bit pathetic and comes off a bit as punching down. Though if we're looking at the situation in terms of content quality, Digi is punching up. He spends the first few minutes simply insulting Tom and his content, but to be fair, Tom did the exact same thing to Digi for arguably a larger amount of time in his own video, so I guess it's justified. But then he goes on to address the witness reports that Tom referenced.
This video used a certain piece of information that's been going around a lot about a guy who stayed at my house for a while and has this horror story of me being this ultimate cringe lord, and I'm gonna tell you all who this guy is.
And they basically just claim that his room was dirty and he's antisocial. End of story. In Tom's video, this occupied a fairly small portion of things and was used more as a means to introduce larger issues, but Digi attempts to hide this evidence because it proves him guilty, and in turn spends half of his video talking about it. No exaggeration, from the 1 minute mark to the 9 minute mark, Tom isn't mentioned once. And even after that, he still goes back to the issue multiple times without even mentioning Tom. And rather than refuting any claims made by the anonymous witness, Digi simply tells who the person is and why they were in his house. He even says that most of what the witness, whose name is Vita by the way, said was true.
Basically what I'm saying is this kid's a fucking mess. And now granted, the things he said about being in my room are true. Of course I have hug pillows around. You all know that. That's nothing to be embarrassed about because nobody gives a shit.
So that begs the question, why? Why spend so much of a response video focusing on such a small aspect of Tom's argument and then not even deny what the witness said? If you wanted to talk about the witness reports, then why not make a separate video instead of mashing it in with the response video to Tom? All I got from this is that Digi's convinced that Vita was more socially inept than Vita claimed Digi was, which has no bearing on anything from the original Kiwi Farms post.
It's really funny to me that he called me the most socially awkward person he'd ever met because he is by far the most socially awkward person I ever met.
I imagine Digi expected that this would damage Vita's credibility, but at the end of the day, he still didn't deny much of anything Vita said. But if you pulled back the curtains, you'd actually see that this is a clever part of a long game to discredit Vita when he inevitably comes out about the truth. And that truth is exposed in this timestamp, whatever it is, part of Tom's video, when it's revealed that Digi has a dirty bathroom.
Secondly, he had a bathroom attached to his room, and it was the most disgusting state I had ever seen a bathroom in. We're talking about stains everywhere and his shaved hair just laying about on the counter and the floor.
But more specifically, the fact that it's full of hair is actually a clue that gives everything away, and exposed a secret that Digi has tried to hide away for a long time. Let me explain. Take one look at this neckbeard anime connoisseur and tell me this. Where the fuck could he possibly have cut off that hair from? His face and head seem to have been covered with hair completely for the past couple years with almost no stylistic changes whatsoever. Unless you're going to claim that he puts more care into trimming his body hair than his beard and head, you have to admit something is off. I mean, this must be important since he spends so much of the video talking about Vita's statements, and sure enough, it is. Since Digi's hair has remained suspiciously unchanged, I realized that this hair in his bathroom must have actually been his real hair. I assert that the hair and beard we see on camera are both fake and that he cuts off his real hair so that the wig he uses is able to fit. And this is because Digi is actually an escaped convict who hides his identity, reviews anime, and lures children into his apartment, all of which are now dead and stuffed into his anime body pillows for all eternity. Why else would one have a body pillow? But Digi is not just any escaped convict. He is one that is all too familiar to those of you who have watched the channel of another anime reviewer whom Digi had close contact with.
My uncle Alex was recently arrested for having sex with a 17-year-old girl, and he is now serving a 3-year prison sentence.
That's right, Digi is actually none other than Uncle Alex. It makes sense when you consider his affiliations with Mumkey. Like Uncle Alex, Digi was a trusted friend who shared Mumkey's affinity for anime, but after a conflict between the two, they parted ways. This can't be circumstantial, and as we all know from my prior videos, Mumkey is a pawn by an evil organization run by the YouTuber Reactor in an attempt to gain control of the internet and subtly influence all of humanity. Considering Uncle Alex's prison sentence predated Mumkey's YouTube career, it's likely that Alex escaped from prison and attempted to keep influence on Mumkey's life in order to have access to all the lowlies he wanted when the organization took over. But unfortunately for him, his greed got the best of things and the organization got tired of him just like they did with Reactor, prior to his mind swap. Because of this, Alex, otherwise known as Digibro, was forced to kick Mumkey from the podcast they shared. All that shit about kicking Mumkey so the bullying towards Jess would end was all a lie from Digi to escape the wrath of the organization.
This is an important detail. And for some reason it gets framed this way a lot, that Jesse had somehow given us an ultimatum that he would come back if Mumkey was kicked. That never happened. I gave an ultimatum. I asked Jesse, if Mumkey was gone, would you be more comfortable coming back? Jesse did not even he in no point endorsed the idea of Mumkey getting kicked. That was never his idea, and he had nothing to do with it. It was my idea because I was getting sick of Mumkey associating himself with these people, and I thought it was going to negatively impact my career and the career of the PCP.
Besides, as Digi states, Jess didn't even come back, so it's almost as if there was no reason to kick Mumkey at all, and it only made the situation worse and caused more backlash. Unless, of course, Digi isn't just an oversensitive Benedict Arnold, and in fact is actually instituting a clever ploy to distance himself from Mumkey. But that's not even the tip of the iceberg. We haven't even gotten to Tom yet. Tom is the key to the entire situation. In his video, Digi goes on to essentially say that Tom's a hypocrite for calling his stuff cringy because making videos about YouTubers on YouTube is the definition of cringe.
Who does he think he is? Like, to call what I do cringy when what he does is the definition of cringe. Like, making YouTube videos about YouTubers on YouTube? Man, like, this is an entire industry of cringe.
And this is where I have to stop things. Love him or hate him, Tom makes extremely well-crafted videos with great edited and refined scripts. And to say that because he talks about YouTubers automatically makes him cringy is a point that just makes no sense to me. Especially considering he accused you of being cringy because your videos lack quality in editing and presentation. Not because of the subject matter you chose to focus on. And yes, I'm talking to you now directly, Digi. These points are certainly reaching, even for a man who isn't smart enough to invest in a tripod. So there must be some other reason he's purposely making jabs not only at Tom's video, but at Tom's integrity as a content creator.
Turkey Tom guy sounds like a fucking 12-year-old.
Jargon sounds like he's a 12-year-old.
Unless, of course, Digi was particularly worried about the credibility of the source in question, Tom himself. Now, some might say that Tom has little credibility in this particular situation because of the minor research errors and the fact that he took the L in the debate that the two of them engaged in, but forget all of that because it doesn't matter. I believe that Tom has more credibility than almost anyone else in the subject of Digibro, and that is because Tom is actually the long-lost son of Digi himself. Hear me out. As I mentioned previously, Digi stuffs the children he captures into body pillows, where they remain for all time. But what if one of them survived? Like the mitochondria exists as an independent living entity within single-cell organisms, so too does Tom's mom exist within one of Digibro's body pillows. What likely happened is that she survived Digi's attacks and lived to reach maturity until she was able to give birth after the semen from the surface of Digi's body pillow penetrated the fabric and then penetrated her. From here, Tom was birthed out of the body pillow alien style, and with the containment broken, he and his mother were able to escape. Digi would then go on to realize what happened, but it was too late. Tom was gone and his DNA could be used as proof of Digi's crimes. And that's when Tom took it upon himself to become a YouTuber who reviews channels and situations regarding drama, all to build up to a grand finale where he reviews Digibro and exposes the schemes, all without even needing to use his own DNA. Maybe by that logic, maybe I'm Digi's son too? So my dad did the only thing he could do and responded to Tom in hopes of discrediting him, which almost worked. He managed to dismiss Vita's statements on him, and granted he didn't disprove them, but still. And he managed to discredit his son. But now, his second-born is here to take this neckbeard down and reveal his true plot. Digi must be stopped in order to restore peace to YouTube, and the lowlies can finally be freed from their salty crypts. Hashtag, send my dad to prison. Hashtag, Digi being my dad isn't canon. So, can you confirm that you are in fact born from one of Digi's body pillows after one of his lowlies reached maturity and ejected you out?
I cannot confirm nor deny these allegations. However, I can say that if these allegations were true, then I probably would have ended my life. Having to bear the knowledge that I was spawned from the seed of Digibro
and being the cousin of Mumkey, because given the fact that another part of this theory is that Digi is actually Uncle Alex.
It would be too much for me to handle.
Huh. Okay.
Too much.
So anything to say to Digi now that, since this video might come on his radar, maybe?
Dad, if you are my dad, which I hope you're not, I don't love you.
Beautiful.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Just Jargon, faggot. $5 well spent.